talk about the bylaws, the policies, and other information that she's going to give us. So thank you, Ronnie.
I had a, yeah, I'll grab the microphone. Thank you. And thank you for this. So on your agenda today is the ICWA Commission and the ICWA Commission bylaws and the policies and updating the intake form. So this is something that the legal department, in conjunction with the judicial department as well as ICW, we worked last year in restarting the discussions about the ICWA Commission. So the ICWA Commission was really established by the Child and Family Protection Code in 2017. Excuse me. Since that time, I believe the commission was operational, but I think that there were just maybe some hiccups that needed to be ironed out. And so that was really the goal that we had last year in updating the bylaws. And so with that, we also updated the intake form for the commission. And so really the commission is designed to sort of be an advisory board, I guess, for lack of a better term, to be able to provide advice to ICW about different areas, including foster placement, case plans, those kinds of things. Because I think part of the reason why they were implemented is because the council had been receiving a lot of complaints about how ICW was doing things and whether or not it was appropriate for the council, either individually or as an organization, would weigh in on these different cases. You're welcome, Ray. So with that, the commission was established, and then we've provided sort of updated information for the council to consider. And it is my recommendation, as well as the judicial department's recommendation, that the council would adopt these updated bylaws. Some of the changes that we put in were that we merged the current bylaws, policies, and the information from the code and resolved inconsistencies between the three. We also clarified various sections of the bylaws, including the membership eligibility and ineligibility to be a commissioner on the board, membership requirements and officer duties, the role of non-voting members and their guests, such as the ICW director, social workers, and any legal representatives, the procedure for appointing and removing members, voting structure, response when a member has a conflict of interest, confidentiality requirements and safeguards, meeting procedures and records, compensation policies for the members, commission's role in providing guidance to ICW and not necessarily regulating it. We also included an appeals process where if there's a recommendation made by the commission to ICW and that recommendation is adverse, I guess, to one of the parties, then there's a process to appeal that, as opposed to just they make the recommendation is not followed, and then what's the impact? So we did organize the new bylaws to have an appellate panel and an appellate procedure. And then we also incorporated information from the code to include the duties of the commission, the history of the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, specifically the federal law, and then also the Anishinaabe values to guide the commission in their work. So with that, it is my recommendation that the council would adopt the new bylaws. And so with that, it would be, instead of a 10-person board, it would be a 7-person board. It's a little bit more fine-tuned in terms of how often they would meet, and those kinds of things. And so I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that it's a lot of information to be presented, but ultimately it's sort of just a revision of past bylaws to make the commission a little bit more operational.
Well, I think them have to be put out to the people and give them some time to look them over and, you know, give us some feedback, because we all know ICWA needs to be redone. So I would have liked to see some of the commissioners that were seated before work with you on these policies. you know, just because they're the ones, you know, that kind of know it, but I don't know if they're willing to come back or what. I don't know, do we appoint them? Are they gonna be elected? You know, stuff like that. But, you know, I think that the membership should be able to look at these policies and see if they have any changes or, you know, do we have to put it out there for 30 days or can we do it for 2 weeks? I don't know the legal thing on that.
Well, and so with these commission bylaws, there's not necessarily any public comment period because the commission is organized under the RBC. So if you wanted a public comment period, you could set that public comment period for however long you wanted, with the understanding that, you know, with the amount of time that it takes for public comment and then revising any bylaws with those changes and having meetings for that, it's only potentially going to delay implementing the commission. And so with that, then those issues that the commission would address also get delayed with that. So,
Okay.
so I would suggest, it would be my recommendation that if it is put out to the public, that maybe it's a shorter public comment period.
Okay, I can go with 2 weeks and then put that to the next 2 weeks because that'll probably be our next meeting date anyway. I mean, if we can get it out to as much people as we can and, you know, if you guys have changes or recommendations, because I'd rather do it that way. And if it does, you know, like she's saying, it's in line with the federal guidelines. So, you know, there's a lot to look at there. And I haven't even, because I just got them, well, I gave them to you. But I just got them, so I didn't even get to look at them, you know, thoroughly. So it's like, can we do 2 weeks and then bring it back to the next meeting, Mike?
Veronica, is that fine?
Yeah, so, the question was whether or not there's a specific amount of time that the bylaws need to be presented to the public. And in my opinion, I don't think that there is a specific amount of time. My concern would be that, you know, allowing additional time for public comment only sort of delays implementing the commission. So I would want to sort of have a quicker timeline for those things. And I think 2 weeks would be sufficient if the rest of the RBC is comfortable with that. There's not any legal requirements that requires the implementation for those. And I think that it's good to involve the community, especially given the topic.
I have a question. Has the original commission enacted?
Not for quite some time.
Yeah, then why 27? I mean, we're having meetings anyway. Feel let's bring out some of the issues.
But maybe if we can get copies of that, I can distribute it tonight too at the,
Yeah,
you know, at the meeting and get it out on Facebook for 2 weeks, whatever, you know, so we can get the input that is needed because we do need to restructure and go in a better way for our children, I do believe, so.
Right,
it's too bad we missed the paper. You know.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately for that, but I think that, yeah, with, and I think that it would also be good to maybe have a comparison of what the old bylaws look like with what the new proposed bylaws would look like, so that there's a really good comparison to see like.
That's, yeah.
Yep, and that would be in the documents that I had sent to Lori and Curtis, so we can make sure that those get distributed so that the members can see it, okay, this is the older version, this is the new version, these are some of our concerns from the old version. And hopefully they're addressed in the new version, and that would give everybody the comfortability to move forward in adopting them. Yep.
Okay, because I'll need them, yeah, I'll need them.
Sure, yeah, yep.
Oh, is that okay?
And I don't mean to, like, you know, moderate the questions, but sure, go ahead, Mary.
I have a question. So, well, the previous commission was trained, and I think it was 12, maybe 18 months it took to train the previous commission. And they started with a 10-person board. I see you're going down to 7. What about those previous people that sat on the commission that are already trained? What will their status be when you revise this commission?
Well, so it would be the RBC revising the commission, and so, I mean, they would, if they meet the eligibility requirements in the new bylaws, then they could be eligible to be on the commission. So it's an appointment process, and so it would have to be sort of, I think generally the appointment process has been sort of like an application process where interested parties apply, and then from that pool of applicants, they're basically appointed. But they would just have to meet the eligibility requirements. And so I would say, yeah, if they have specific training and they also meet the additional new requirements, then yeah, they would be eligible.
Yeah, because I think it's important that the commission members are trained, and since we already have members of our community that are trained to be on the commission, they're trained from everything from MAPCs, 4E, case plans. It was a very rigorous training. They all received a huge book, a reference book that they could refer to. So I think it's important for the council to understand that we already have people that are trained and that we're actively sitting on the commission prior.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. Thank you.
But if ICW is failing now, wouldn't that denote that the prior commission be part of that failure? Or causation?
No, because they brought forward their concerns. They brought forward their concerns and they were never looked at or answered. So they too had their concerns that weren't, being brought to light.
And
Do you
where,
have any idea how long this has been going on in ICW? Has it been 20 years? Can we, there's been people working in ICW for the past 15, 10, 20 years that has been knowing this is going on, mandatory reporters. And if they didn't know what was going on in that little office, something's wrong. They're all mandatory reporters, every one of them, from the secretary to the director.
excuse me,
Misdemeanor charge.
Veronica,
When did any of them as mandatory reporters report any of this abuse in these houses? Never.
And the thing is they didn't have the right to make a personal decision if what they were hearing was true or not. They should have investigated. And they should be going up.
One made a accusation against a medical foster home, which was never, I don't know if it was investigated, Lori, was it? You told me it was okay, that they do that to kids.
Well,
They
and
rub on newborn babies, medical babies that come out of the hospital from, or that are drug babies, that they automatically get Desitin rubbed on them because they get rash easier than other babies. I've raised kids that were ADHD severe, and never one of them had rash from being a drug baby, unless they were.
well, and I understand the concern for that too, and I think that could potentially be something that the ICWA Commission is something that it gets addressed. But for the commission stuff, the commission was only implemented in 2017. So prior to 2017, there wasn't a formal mechanism to address those sorts of concerns. And so with the implementation in 2017, there's the commission. And so for those years that have passed, the 5 years that have passed now, a few of the processes for the commission were not working. And so that's the purpose of having the new bylaws, so that we can iron out some of those issues and hopefully.
With the same workers?
Well, and so the commission is separate from the department. So just to clarify, the commission is not ICW, the commission is separate from ICW as the department. The commission is sort of an oversight agency, I would say, for the department. It is not the department.
Everybody in that department, ICW, should be fired.
Well, and I can't address any of those concerns. That would be the RBC that would be able to address those.
I want to know how much is the money RBC gets from that state and federal funding that ICW gets. Do they get a scrape off the top?
And I see that Kevin also has his hand up, so Nase also has been waiting.
Veronica, well, first, if I may premise with the teaching that was shared to me by an elder. The French call this Ojibwe. And the etymology of the word means to roast until puckered. Some people thought it was the way that our moccasins puckered. But what the French learned is that in the Anishinaabe tradition, if you harmed innocents, if you went as negative as it got, where we get the word Wendigo, if you went dark and negative and you harmed innocent like a child, they would take the skin of a bear with the fat on it, and they would lean it up against a fire until that fat would blister and boil and bubble. And then they would wrap an entity in that hide. And it was looked at as if the Creator allowed the individual to live, they lived, If they died, they died. But to do such a horrific thing against innocent, our children, I wouldn't be opposed to that coming back. But I'd like to know, Veronica, if you could possibly send me information to apply for such a position. Be great.
I certainly can, Naysay, and I think that it would just necessarily be dependent on whether or not the new bylaws are adopted. And so I think once we're into the procedure, then I know that there are community members who are very interested in especially serving on the ICWA Commission, and hopefully, you know, they meet the eligibility requirements to do so. But yeah, I think all community members who are interested, especially in ICWA issues, should be, you know, interested in being on the commission. I think that would be really helpful. Especially to have the community sort of have a say in how those things go. So yes, and I think that that's, you know, once those get further into the process, yes, for sure, Naysay will make sure that you get that information as well as other community members.
Be great.
I have another question. Who will be assigned to the advisory board?
Who is assigned to the advisory?
Who will be?
I don't know those that would be up to the council. The council is the appointing entity, and so individuals who are interested in that would need to make sure that their, you know, their names are up to the RBC.
So there's going to be a commission, correct? And then there'll be the advisory board or the appellate board, or who did you say was?
No, so there's an appellate panel, so that when there are recommendations made, so the procedure will be that the commission receives a complaint or some other issue that they need to review, right? So then they have sort of an administrative hearing is sort of the process. If we're thinking about administrative procedure, they would have an administrative hearing, everybody comes to the tables, everybody presents their information, sort of like a court hearing, right? And so at the end of it, the commission will make a recommendation to ICW about that issue. Whether or not ICW follows that is going to be an issue as to whether or not they appeal that decision, to say, like, respectfully, commission, I have received your recommendation, but I disagree with it for these particular reasons. It goes to an appellate panel. The appellate panel is similar to our HR appellate board. So if an employee is dismissed from their employment, they get an opportunity to have sort of a random selected board of, I think it's 5 people, who hear the situation independently. They're not connected to the issue. They're all, you know, they have no bias for the issue. They hear the issue, they weigh in on it, and that decision is made. So whatever the appellate panel. So we actually don't know who's on the appellate panel. It'll be random every single time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When we have little kids that are raped, some heads need to roll.
I agree.
That's why I say get everybody off that ICW. Every single one.
And I don't disagree in that, but again, the ICW department is separate from the ICWA Commission, and so the ICWA Commission is really supposed to take some of the burden off the RBC for all of the complaints that the community has, and sort of provide a mechanism to be able to sufficiently address all of these complaints.
Well, that confidentiality policy only gives ICW absolute power.
Well, and I think it also protects the families and the kids also, but
But there's a way of redacting their names in their stories and history, so it doesn't have to be, so confidentiality doesn't have to be breached.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that particular issue would require a modification to the code. So you know, if that's the concern and that's how the RBC would want to proceed, then we would need to work on modifying the law. Because right now, under the tribal code, under the Child and Family Protection Code, all of it's confidential.
At one time, ICW told a RBC member that they had upper hand on RBC. Now you're saying RBC has control?
I guess I don't understand the question. And so I can't respond to your question because I don't understand it.
Well, there was an RBC member that said that ICW told him that they were over RBC and they were going to try to take him to court and everything. But you're saying that RBC has control over ICW?
Structurally, organizationally, yes. Yes. In terms of, and I guess I don't know the context of when that conversation happened, but if it was regarding confidentiality, then yes. I mean, the RBC is also subject to the code. And so, right, if there's discussion about specific confidential matters, ICW is not at liberty to discuss those unless there's been some other authorization to release confidential information. So if that was the context, sure, then I can understand that. But I don't know the context of that conversation, so I can't really speak to it.
We
But with
also
that-
get an update on at the last meeting, there was a motion to approve, was it an audit or an investigation, Annie? Did we get an update on that?
I sure can. Actually, I'm 1 minute late in a meeting with the firm that is investigating the department. So I actually have to hop off and jump onto that meeting, but we're in discussions, and the anticipation is that they will have their project done. I think the timeline, the proposed timeline, I think was by the end of June, was what they were looking at in terms of having that done. So that's the most information that I can give at this time. What was that?
Is this the BIA that's investigating or?
Nope, this is an independent native-owned law firm that is pretty equipped in handling these types of things. They understand the law, they understand the tribal state agreements that we're subject to, they understand our DHS agreements and all of those things. So they're in the process of cooperating with us. They've already made requests for policies and procedures and those kinds of things. So they're in the process of, the investigation has essentially already started.
Is there anything back yet from I'm at the understanding that there was a 5-case pull from the state. Is there anything back on that yet?
I'm not aware of that information, so I'm not able to speak to that.
I think that was for last year's, I think, their audit. That's
I don't know if
audit
it's
is,
CFSR or if it was,
because I got sent something that there was an audit done and it was brought forward, but I think that was from 2021.
No, there's going to be another with the state. I believe I'll touch base and maybe I can hopefully bring something tonight.
sure, thank you.
Also that it's still ongoing. And then there's another investigation that's going on at the KC Foundation. They're going to be looking at the whole department as well. So there's 3 ongoing investigations right now, separate.
Thank you.
Well, I hope that ICW understands that, because that was me that today is the first time that I've ever seen the policies and procedures from the ICW that we got today. And I've been asking for those for the last 3.5 years, and today is the first time I ever seen a copy of them. So that was me that they even threatened to take me to court if I kept nosing around there, because they said there was confidentiality. I mean, I feel them being under our building and being paid from us, that we should have more say into what goes into it, ITW. So I hope they understand that, but I'm sure we're going to find this all out in this investigation, and be good to whoever that was who brought up our RTG member that was told that was me. Thank you.
You know, and a big thing for me is that confidentiality is always used against us tribal council members. I worked in the clinic for 16 years. I know HIPAA, I know confidentiality. You know, I ain't out there saying what I know. You know, so confidentiality as a tribal council member, I know what that means. But I just don't like it being used against me, saying, you know, oh, I'm gonna tell everybody what I find out. No, I know what confidentiality is. So, you know, that's one excuse that, you know, our programs have to get away from. Because, you know, we're not all, we're educated people and we know what things mean, you know? So please don't use that against me, because I know what I can do, you know? So don't sit there and say, oh, due to confidential information, you know, we feel we can't give you that. Yes, you can. I am a tribal council member, and I don't like to hear that, because I get questioned from our members, and that's who I answer to, you know? So when I don't get that information, I can't give you guys the right information, you know? I ain't gonna sit there and blurt out everything they said, but I can give you, you know, at least a little something to let you know what's going on, you know? And that's what I like to do, is keep our members informed. But yeah, to use confidentiality against us all the time, you know, I'm well conversed on confidentiality, so, you know, and being our job is probably 85% that, you know, that's wrong. Language.
Yeah, I agree with Annie, you know, because 80% of our job is confidentiality, and I mean, it's not like we're going to go out there and spread everything around, because I do believe, you know, because HIPAA rules and HIPAA laws says we can't do this, can't do that. Well, I do understand HIPAA rules and HIPAA laws, but I don't like being told that this is confidentiality. You can't be told that when my job is 80% confidentiality. Good.
So we'll get that out there for 2 weeks then, and I'll have copies tonight to give out.
Not the elders.
Okay. You don't need a motion or nothing.
No, and so I think it was just, you know, presenting the information, but otherwise, if the request is that it would just go out to the public, I mean, we can, I don't think it requires a formal council approval to do that. That's just, we can just go ahead and process it that way, and then we can just come back to the next meeting and represent it again to see if there's any updates or changes, and then hopefully we can get it implemented by the next one.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie.
Yes, thank you.
All right, next up is the Elders Commission. Laura, you want to talk about that?
Jump in.
I can do the Elders Commission too. I just really like to talk today, especially about commissions. The Elders Commission, as maybe some of you are aware, at least I know Tito is aware, we've been working on getting the Elders Commission established. And so the Elders Commission, I think it was mentioned previously earlier on in today's meeting that the Elders Commission is not the Whiter Council of Elders. Mostly what is the most different, I would say, between the elders, the Council of Elders and the Elders Commission is that the Elders Commission is really a formal mechanism where the elders can have regular meetings with various departments and programs and divisions, take concerns from the community and their constituents and bring those formal concerns to the RBC for the RBC to review and implement. I think that that's sort of what the Council of Elders has kind of been envisioned to do, but the commission is more of a formalization of that process. And also the commission is elected, where the Council of Elders is really more of a voluntary organization where you just, you know.
We are elected.
You are or not?
We are.
Oh, they are elected. And I think that they also are sort of a voluntary organization, so there's not any compensation. That's the Council of Elders, where the commission is more of a regular, they would meet regularly, they would have regular business that they would address, they would have obligations to meet with different communities and community organizations and those kind of things. And so with that, when we established the Elders Commission, we had put their bylaws out for public comment back at the end of November, or through November, excuse me, right at the beginning of November, published in the Anishinaabe today. And then we ended up getting those bylaws adopted and approved. I believe it was at the February meeting. And so with that, we need to essentially populate the commission. And so that's where this Elders Commission resolution comes in. It's essentially addressing 3 areas. And it is addressing the calendar for the proposed election for the commission. We're proposing that the Elders Commission would have a general election on August 9th, having a candidate filing period from May 9th through June 13th, excuse me, May 9th through June 13th. And then having the certification process. The process would be similar to how the MCT election ordinance currently is. And I tried to mirror some of those same timelines for this particular election. And then following the election, the winning candidates would get seated in September, and then they would start their business. The resolution also identifies who would be eligible to serve on the commission, as well as who would be eligible to vote. So that would be the only sort of change to the process, is that the voting would be open to elders, because it's an elders commission. So the request was that those individuals voting for the elders commission would be elders themselves. I had anticipated in our earlier conversations that we would potentially need a budget of about $18,000, but I was updated earlier today that I think it's closer to $10,000. And so I did submit a revised or updated resolution that would change that amount from 18,000 to 10,000. And so then if the council is agreeable to that, then we can get that published and get it sent out and have a new commission, specifically for the elders. So that would be, I think, the summarization, I guess, of the resolution that's before the council's for consideration today.
And the fund that would be used would be the elders fund, to be able to pay for the election for the elders commission.
And Lori, there was a couple of changes we had, remember when we talked about it? 55 and up, we didn't state that in there? Elders 55 and up?
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, but there was some other,
There was one technicality where it said within the exterior boundaries of White Earth Reservation, and the correction we need to make, it says, or within 20 miles of the nearest reservation boundary. And a point of clarification would be that it states within 25 miles rather than the nearest reservation boundary. It should state White Earth Reservation boundary.
yeah, if you added any reservation.
It could be interpreted that way, yes, so we need to make a point.
And we know how careful people read, so.
Well, as the attorney, I'm the one who's supposed to bring the research.
They're not living on a reservation.
I believe that the reason for the wording was for the at-large position on the commission. That's why it's stated that way.
Even though we have the ability for virtual meetings now?
Right, and that's, so the, with the bylaws that were passed, that were put out for public comment and then passed in February, that's the requirement, that's the eligibility, that's designated in the bylaws for individuals to be on the commission, and so the voter would be similar, the voter requirement would be the same.
I'll make a motion to pass this resolution with the changes. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so it was a motion to pass the bylaws or what?
No, this resolution. You got it?
Must be in the back.
It's just basically approving 10,000 for the election.
Candy Crush.
Sorry, what was that motion again?
It's a motion to approve the, what was it, Annie?
Resolution.
The resolution
For $10,000 so they can have their election.
for $10,000 so the Elders Commission can have their election in 2028.
2028. Tell them what this is.
Why not? You've been working on it since 2018.
No, Ray, did you hear me, Ray? It's for $10,000 for their election.
I'll second.
Motion, it was motion by Andy to approve the resolution for their election in the amount of $10,000. Second by Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, miigwech. Thank you. Next up is the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe annual annual administration costs, something that we do on a yearly basis. It's for $22,639. $22,639. Alan, did you get a chance to look at that?
Yeah, Mike, that's pertaining to every year the MCT requested each band submit a operating budget to help fund the costs of the organization there. They've submitted an invoice for us there and asked that it be routed to the legal department.
Okay, are you fine with that? You want a motion on that, Alan? We get a motion on it.
Yeah, I wanted it to go through the signatory process.
Oh,
You just want to go through the soup? Okay, for the next meeting, okay. All right, then.
Yeah.
We could do that. I think we're on agreement of that, so that's fine. Okay, the next up is the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda with the two additions.
If I may,
Yes.
I would like to pull elders' contracts under public health and move that into executive session for discussion, please.
Okay. With the changes. You fine with that, Annie?
yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay, motion to approve the consent agenda with changes and the two additions.
Motion, Chair.
Motion by Raymond,
Second.
second by Annie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is executive session. So I'd like to say, tell everyone miigwech for showing up today. Been a long day.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
can Doug Lee give a short presentation? He said it's short and it's,
What does it pertain to?
It's a project proposal that we've worked very hard on these past few months. Requested to be on the agenda. We were taken off yesterday afternoon because council members were leaving, but they're all present here. That was the reason we were on the agenda. I followed every process that I was supposed to get on the agenda. And we were bumped last minute.
And so was I,
And Kevin too, and Joe Lagarde and
Anthony Lee.
Yeah, but you guys, you gotta bring it to me. I mean, I know you bring it to Lori, and I haven't looked at it. Well, what does it pertain to?
It's a renewable energy project that we put together. If we could just propose it to you and you guys can just say yes or no. It's something for the people. It's actually something really, really fabulous for the people.
Mike,
And
follow protocol.
protocol.
They were not on the agenda.
We were.
Please do not
were.
go through with it. I am sick and tired of this damn
We were.
crazy that it's not produced.
Then you
one
can tell
damn
us to
thing.
go tee up a rope after this, if you want. Excuse
Please
me.
follow
I got that from Michael Ledoux.
protocol.
That's his.
Oh, start adding the
Anita,
agenda at the last minute.
Anita,
They did follow
I just want a fair shot.
and they got
They were
bumped up.
told no.
I'd like,
Well, the reason when I talked to Alan earlier that we were gonna move you at the next meeting.
so why was I taken
I
off?
set it all up for today. I had a chairman of another tribe that was willing to participate and tell you guys what they did. It's late.
Is it something that needs council approval? If not, then we can see it. I mean, we can zoom
Yeah,
in or
it
we.
needs council approval. It's a big project and it would have to go before the people. And it's something that would really, really benefit this.
Well, then we need to see it first. You know what I mean? I need to see I don't want to get, like the last one that happened, it's just like the same day you want to approve something that you show us, something that we need to review, has legal looked at it.
and here's my position.
It doesn't look, it's not a yes, like yes.
And I told you maybe you should present it to us, and closed chambers or whatever. But it's, this is my thing, you know, he is our chairman, and yes, he does make, you know, what goes on the agenda. But on the other half, you are a member and you deserve to be heard. And that's, you know, I'm not one that quite a member. I'm sorry.
Well,
You know, and that's where I stand.
I'm not quite in it. I'm just saying
Yes,
that
you are.
we need to look at it through legal.
you have been gagging me, Mr. Fairbanks, for how many years now?
On what, Kevin?
On, okay, I'll present it in court, Mr. Fairbanks. Because you have gagged me. I found out that in executive meeting, you guys are looking at giving Wabigon Mushkee another $2 million. I'm getting scrutinized as the cannabis commissioner because I'm asking, where is all the money? Where is all the money gone? And your office and other people are attacking me because I want to know where the $7 million has gone to grow cannabis. Because our people still don't have cannabis. That cannabis Aki, they had it set up to where within 2 months, people would have cannabis in their homes. And it's been how many years with this Wabigon Mushkee? And beyond that, they're operating in denial of the cannabis code. So,
Well, I guess, thank you, Kevin. But on Doug's point, if it pertains to our budgets or monetary, it has to go to legal first.
So there's no financial thing that you would have to roll on today. It'd only be to move into future. The next steps are just setting it up. I want to gauge the council's interest in.
Well, yeah, but you can send it to us or send it to me. You know, I haven't looked at it yet. You know, I mean, you're gonna present something today. I know you're gonna present it today, but I'm just saying that can you send it to me, then we'll put you on the next meeting so you can present it to the people.
can you explain, Mr. Chairman, sorry. Can you explain what exactly the procedures are to be put on the agenda? And how is it that you specifically can just say no? That's my question.
Andy said yes.
Thank you, Kevin.
Ray, what do you think? Are you here still?
Carol,
Yeah.
I think you're really biased. Isn't your daughter a part of the green team?
I don't even know if this is coming from the green team, but they are a member. I mean, do we say, no, you as a member cannot present something to us? No, we don't.
Are they on, if
You know,
they run it,
they were on the agenda and they were taken off. They followed every protocol.
Right now, they're not on the agenda.
Well,
They were on the agenda.
Were.
Okay, well, the question is, why were we taken off?
Because you have to give us time to review your stuff, what you're gonna do, what you wanna talk about. What did you wanna talk about, Kevin, specifically?
I wanted to talk about my role as cannabis commissioner and what I am trying to do for the people and how I feel the cannabis commissioner is failing us as a people. And I want to say it right now out there. Tito, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, any money that is given to me for being a cannabis commissioner, I want it to go to Tito and the elders. Okay, can you guys arrange that? Because I don't need the money. Give it to our elders. Okay, I want to help our people grow cannabis. I do not want to assist a business to make profit over, above, and beyond our people just growing their own cannabis. We don't regulate somebody going out and picking swamp tea for mushkee. So you don't give the people enough credit that they have the brains, they have the mental capacity to understand growing their own mushkee, growing their own cannabis. And that was one of the things that I think the cannabis commissioner should be involved with, helping the people first and not businesses. Because right now we're all tied up in the regulations of the state, and the state has no business in what we do. There's many tribes out there right now that are not going through the state at all. And according to the laws, we work with the federal government. And this is where I've asked before that there be an audit done on Wabigot Muskie.
Thank you, Kevin.
The enterprise, because there's over $7 million gone.
Thank you. We're gonna go on break, so thank you. 10-minute break.
Me quit. Ooh, I'm hot now.